everyone, Lou here. I'm a pretty big Genshin Impact fan, if this video alone isn't enough of that. Ever since I started playing in 2021, I've been a huge fan, and I've been playing it ever since, with the occasional hiatus here and there. I don't really think I've had a chance to discuss some Genshin lore though. I've been catching up on both in-game and from a pretty cool TikTok account, so I think it'd be fun to do a video discussing who is the most evil character in Genshin Impact. Now, I should state that besides whatever clickbait thumbnail I make, this video is going over in-lore characters who are evil. Not some theory that Klee and her mom are secretly terrorists who want to blow up all of Mondstadt because of some intergalactic mission or whatever. This is all in-lore through books, main stories, and whatever I was able to attend in-game events for. Because, for some reason, some of the most important lore events in-game are tied to temporary events. I guess Genshin just hates us for that or something more than it already does. I will also be covering non-playable characters, solely because, some characters are so damn diabolical that them being non-playable is actually a blessing in this case. So, let's get started. Ren Shogun. Now, don't get me wrong, I am a massive Ren Shogun stan. I love Ei's character, and I get excited whenever there's an Inazuma event featuring her, but we all have to admit she's not exactly the best person. I put her here first because she's not 100% evil, but she does a lot of actions that are honestly kinda evil, yeah. She did do good, like assisting in poetry events in Inazuma, or slaying Orobashi, who tried to take over all of Inazuma instead of sticking to her people in Sangonomiya, but she didn't do too great after her sister Makoto died. The first act I think Ei did that was honestly kind of making her a villain in a different kind of story was create her puppets to act as her perfect envision of eternity and her twisted sense of ideals. While her treatment of the second puppet, Ren Shogun, is fine, her treatment of who we now know as Scaramouche or Wanderer is the one that's diabolical here. When he was created, he was either as a prototype or a version 1. Wanderer showed kindness and innocence like a human. Ei viewed this as a complete mistake because being too human would mean he would fail ruling Inazuma for her in her vision, so after keeping him basically locked in a room in what I believe is in Tenshukaku, she has Miko set him free without literally anything to guide or help him. After that, we know her abandonment of him would spiral into him becoming Scaramouche and later erasing himself from Irminsul, which I guess washes her hands of him, but it's not fucking great for her that she'll likely never have accountability in-game. Not to mention the entire Vision Hunt decree. Yes, she had good intentions in believing that progress and development of a nation is what makes Celestia destroy something as badly as Conria. The point stands that people were in a zombified state from having their visions taken away, and some even died trying to keep their vision. Kazuha lost his best friend because he wanted to fight for his vision. Yes, I know that in context in Japanese society in the Edo period, which is what Inazuma is based on, this isn't seen as something villainous of Ren Shogun, and is instead viewed as simply the fallout of an honorable duel. I get it, this is a particular situation which is a cultural thing, and it's a popular cultural thing in Japanese literature too, especially, but, killing a dude for wanting to keep his dreams and ambition is kind of fucked up too. I do think Ei isn't 100% evil though. Mainly I just think she was genuinely blinded by grief and pain that it led to some really fucked up decisions. We've all seen that grief is the origin point for a lot of evil characters in media, but I do think Ei has made a pretty big turnaround in game. It's gonna take a lot more limited time events to fully redeem her, but still. Child or Tartaglia. Child is one of my favorite characters in-game, as well as a fan favorite, but I think we all can't lie, he's a sadistic son of a bitch. Ignoring the fact that he's a Fatui Harbinger, because the Tsaritsa seems to genuinely have a noble cause of fighting Celestia head-on, or reviving the third Descender to fight Celestia, which, Considering the heavenly principles is what wanted to dissolve all the citizens of Fontaine, stole land from the ruling sovereign dragons, punished the people of Conria with immortality, which is known to cause basically dementia, and literally used someone's dead soul or body to create the gnosis for the archons. So you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet, you know what I mean? Of course, I'm saying this right now, as obviously we're still nowhere near the end of the story with Snezhnaya yet. Hell, we're half a year away from Natlan, so, you know, if I'm wrong, feel free to comment a clown emoji, since that's what I'll be feeling like when more lore comes out, and this makes me feel fucking stupid and this video pointless, but anyway. In the beginning, according to his character stories, Childe starts off wanting to be the greatest warrior ever from the stories his father told him as a child. I mean, he was a little kid with those ideals, so of course he's gonna have what we call in adults as delusions of grandeur, because that's how all kids think. Except after fighting a bear with a tiny knife, which typical fucking Tuesday for Russia, let's be real, he ended up falling into an abyssal portal in Snezhnaya and ended up under the training of Skirk. We see with Skirk's personality that the abyss corrupts your very core. I mean, she literally has galaxy arms now because the abyss is physically corrupting her, but 3 months in the abyss only corrupted his mind. I mean, it's a no-brainer when Skirk is completely aloof and unsympathetic towards everyone. Similarly to Childe, except he keeps up a happy act. Not saying, you know, oh, poor Childe, the abyss made him evil, but it definitely worsened any issues he had if he was already throwing hands with bears at 14. When he's not busy threatening violence or making people pay their debts to the Fatui, he's busy waking up a giant sea monster in Liyue that Rex Lapis defeated thousands of years ago, or nearly possibly destroying the Opera House with his foul legacy form. I mean, yeah, sure, he partially saved Fontaine from the whale by fighting it for 3 months straight in a form that we know from previous quests leaves him physically very weak, but I mean, it still doesn't change the fact that even the Oratrice Annalise Cardinal still found him guilty of even associating with this world-devouring narwhal thingy. Not to mention his dialogue in-game discussing want to be the world's strongest soldier so badly that he wants the whole world to crumble at his feet. I mean, any other story and that just make him a bloodthirsty villain, right? I do still love Childe solely because I love unhinged characters, but gosh damn, he's not exactly a squeaky clean character. Before we get to the finale, here's some honorable mentions. These characters with diabolical tendencies, but not 100% evil, just morally gray here and there. Also some characters that are genuinely evil, but they only appear so briefly that I don't think they matter. Yae Miko. This sounds so weird to bring her up, but we know from several characters that Miko terrifies all the men in Inazuma, as well as seems pretty ruthless to her writers at her publishing company. I mean, the publishing company part makes sense, you know, a company is expensive and she wants good results, so yeah, she's gonna be a girl boss about it. Still though, Yae Miko forces Goro to dress up as a woman for promotional photos and makes him write the Miss Hina articles for her publishing company. Not just that, but Toma seems pretty nervous when talking about her. Let Ito eat tofu knowing Oni are allergic to soybeans for the lols. Belittle Sayu for the lols, and even Wander talks about how all she really cares is about entertaining herself. She's definitely not evil, just a little shit, which makes sense since kitsune are trickster yokai. The Knave, or Arlecchino. I mean, we all originally thought she was evil and diabolical, to the point where if this video was done pre-Fontaine, then she would have been put here at the very end. Except Fontaine really made me question her own morality, and probably more once she's put into the game with her own story quest. Now, she is described as a very strict parent according to Fremine and Linny, to the point where her role as father is because she takes a more traditionally masculine approach to raising children. Even in Lynette's story when she finds a kitten, Arlecchino seems very strict about it and even scolds Fremine for having a soft heart in his storylines. Except on the flip side, I think it's very clear there's a love for all the children in the House of the Hearth have for her. Linny, Lynette, and Fremine all discuss that they're one big family there, and this includes Arlecchino in that family description. Not to mention desperate to save Fontaine from being submerged, so she had Linny and Lynette come up with evacuation plans, like the Mary Poppins bag thingies we met Linny in at the beginning of the quest. I mean, yeah, she scared the shit out of Farina and possibly nearly killed her, but she did believe she was scaring the shit out of a goddess, so I mean, she probably didn't plan on actually hurting her, not defending, because like, I'm not a huge Arlecchino fan because of her personality, and I mean, I prefer her design over anything else. Just like, she did some bad, but some good too. I mean, Child and Wanderer say she's insane, but I'm honestly not seeing anything of what they're talking about. All of Celestia, maybe? This feels like one big question mark for me, just because we clearly see the heavenly principles, or Celestia is kind of fucking evil for cursing an entire nation with immortality because they dared to be a nation without an Archon, and the mistakes of a handful of people there. Not to mention wanting to kill all Fontaine citizens for being humans made from Oceanids, and stealing the land of all sovereign dragons who lived there first, so like, clearly kinda bad. Even Venti says that Celestia isn't a paradise because he says the food is tasteless and the water is foul, and even lie to all of the people of Teyvat because the sky is fake in Teyvat. I put a big question mark though, because we don't have an answer as to why the heavenly principles are so strict and mean. Because Genshin Impact is a pocket universe in the Honkai universe, some theorize the Honkai in that game could be trying to invade pocket universes like Genshin, which is why the principles are so strict, and maybe the primordial one, or whoever else is running Celestia, feel like keeping progress to a minimum will prevent the detection of the Honkai? I'm not sure, because this entire thing sounds clearly sus as fuck, but we don't have enough information to go on. The Tsaritsa. As much as we all want to hate on the Cryo Archon for causing so much chaos across Teyvat with her Harbingers, we know from Fontaine that clearly she has good intentions if it means for an unorthodox approach to it. Like I said earlier, breaking a few eggs to make an omelet, if you will. We know from Dainsleif that her people have no love left for her, but I do consider Dainsleif to be an unreliable narrator because of his bias towards Archons. We see him discuss Ren Shogun with complete disdain as an example. If the Tsaritsa is the Archon of love, I think it's very likely that she lost someone she loved in Conria's destruction, or even loved the third Descender, and we know by now that her plans is to go to war with Celestia for creating more harm than good in the laws of Teyvat, so I don't think she's entirely bad, just clearly her love for whoever she likely had made her just kind of turn to rage. Which, considering grief stories woven through Genshin, makes sense to me. I don't know. I have this gut feeling the Tsaritsa isn't as bad as we're all assuming she is. Same goes with Murata, who I'm pretty sure is dead. But again, comment a clown emoji if I'm wrong. Scaramouche or Wanderer? I mean, he's so woven into Hinduism and Buddhist ideologies for redemption that it's largely why I didn't consider him fully evil. He's a character broken by bad circumstances he didn't ask for, and while he did cause Kazuha's family to be disgraced and killed a lot of people, this all comes from actions of other characters that affected him. I mean, he's still a little shit as we know him now, but we see his true self genuinely does have a good heart and just desperately wants to be acknowledged. Whether that's being acknowledged by his mother A, or even as us who didn't ask for any of this. He's also about rebirth of oneself, so he's clearly changing and being better since his whole fucking story is about changing yourself. If you think about it really hard, he's honestly like a slightly more bad Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. Like, he does some very bad things, but we as the player gotta bring his badness meter down, you know? Quick shout out to my girl La Senora, by the way. She was clearly evil like Queen Beryl in Sailor Moon, but just like her, we barely know shit about her other than she was a fire witch who lost her lover at some point and it made her crazy, like, that's it. But I could be wrong because I always found La Senora to be a very bland harbinger because, you know, she's the first one we meet, so it's not like she's gonna be super layered. every Abyss NPC we've met so far. I mean, we all know anyone associated with the Abyss is bad or sus, right? From our twin, Kaya's ancestor, the Fire Abyss Herald guy from Enkanomiya, and more. We know why Celestia and the mad scientists from Conria are to blame for the catalyst that gave them all this evil madness or whatever, but I mean, we know that's obvious, right? I don't know, I feel like it's kind of weak just to talk about all the villains with no dialogue that are NPCs we meet in short or very meh side quests. I think it's time though to talk about the most evil, the most diabolical Genshin character we know. Dottore, or the Doctor. Dottore is one of the most controversial and evil characters in Genshin. I say controversial because, like, apparently people these days say you can't like evil characters because it reflects on you or whatever. Very dumb stuff. But anyway, on top of wanting to make a fake god despite learning nothing of Conria, thus pretty much wanted to attempt another apocalypse, he planned to use forbidden knowledge, which is the cause of erosion of Tevat via Irminsul absorbing it like a computer virus. He was also banned from the academia for murdering a colleague in cold blood, tortured and caused deep trauma for Kale by messing around with her Elazar disease, basically physically and mentally scrambled Wanderer when he was still Scaramouche, and caused the real destruction of Kazuha's clan by causing a huge fake-out issue thing. Not to mention the countless of other harmful experiments like fucking around with ruin graders in Liyue that Child had to take care of. Kidnapped children to try an experiment on the Aranara and was involved in the Samsara during the Sumeru quest that nearly killed Dunyarzad and likely could have killed any other characters from the constant cycle over and over again. Like, Dottore is bad fucking news. Doesn't matter which version of himself you're talking to, since apparently, to gain immortality, he created multiple clones of himself at different stages of life, so he could basically live forever. Which, in theory, is cool. It's actually just for nefarious shit in canon, though. Mind you, I'm sure we're all only scratching the surface of him, since I'm sure we'll likely see him again in another story-related quest someday. I doubt anytime soon, because I believe the next harbingers we're meeting are Capitano and Colombia, if the leaks and what Nouvellette said is anything to go by. I'm sure he was also involved in creating delusions too. At least I feel like he is, because I don't think we know how delusions are created exactly. It also lines up with his goals of making a false god for funsies, because why not, I guess. Since according to in-game lore that we learned from Inazuma, visions are basically one step closer to achieving Archon or Godhood status. Point is, dude is as sadistic and evil as they come, and the kind of evil character we all really wanted for Genshin that struggles with evil characters in its main plot like this. Not saying anyone can't like him either. I think anyone can like any character because it's just a fictional character made of typed words and drawn on a screen, just showing like, damn, this is one evil dude. It's almost kind of cool to have a story with a character so evil like this, like one that isn't an Abyss character anyway, like a herald or a mage. Seeing an evil mad scientist is just kind of classic, you know? With that, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below if you guys want more lore videos like this, because it's pretty fun to do. Maybe one on the sweetest characters or the most romanceable? Not sure, but as always, let me know down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching! If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new. If any of you would like to help support my channel in any possible way, my Ko-fi page is down below in the description, along with all of my social media. For any subscribers, new or old, who'd like to help with video ideas, or maybe just want to talk about anime or something, I have a fan server linked down below. See you next time!